Good morning and welcome to Fit&Well Instagram Live with me, Sian Porter. I'm a consultant dietitian and one of the clients that I work with is California walnuts. So I'm presenting this morning in association with them. It's a beautiful spring morning. I hope everybody's feeling energised, ready to go. It makes such a difference, and obviously a bit of freedom that we've got now. But it has been a really tough year, and I think that's first to say to everybody. It's, well done for getting here. It hasn't been easy. And one of the things that I've been asked a lot about over this year is obviously eating. It's been eating over lockdown, eating for health. And so this morning we're going to be talking about how you can try and eat healthily when you may be feeling a bit overwhelmed, tired, stressed, maybe a bit down as well. And the first thing to say, there's no perfection when it comes to eating, despite what some people might show you. And I'm going to give you some examples this morning, but they're examples, it's what works for you, really. And the important thing is that if you're trying to be perfect, you're trying to be something that doesn't exist, and that's just exhausting. So it has to be as good as it can be, and it has to be for you. I don't know about your life or the things that come into it, but these are just some tips that are going to help you. The other thing is that the first thing is about enjoying your food. You should enjoy your food. Celebrate food. It's fantastic. I mean, we've got some. Look at the fruit in my fruit bowl. It's just vibrant. It's glowing. All those colours just make you feel better to look at them. Well, that's what I think. And so celebrate food, enjoy your food, and have a healthy relationship with food. Okay, food is or good nutrition is part of your overall health. So obviously it's important that you eat well to look after your health and obviously reduce your risks of certain diseases, so things like diabetes, look after your heart. But it's part of the overall thing, so it's obviously thinking about exercising or being physically active, getting good sleep, managing stress, having healthy relationships. So it's part of that overall mix. So like I said, it's important that you enjoy it and have a healthy relationship. So what I thought we could do is we could talk about maybe snacking, and also talk about meals, and then talk about some of the nutrients that perhaps we know that seem to do have a role in helping with managing things like mood. So maybe if we start with snacking. So here we have got, like I said, fruit, obviously a really important choice that is quite obvious. Lots of myths that fruit's full of sugar and everything like that. Fruit's actually mostly water. So fruit is, and the sugar in fruit is part of the cell. So it's actually, if you like, part of the matrix of the food, part of the makeup of the food. So it's absolutely fine to have it. So we've got fruit, but don't forget that canned also counts. Here I've got some frozen berries out of my freezer. You can see that they are actually used. And those can be great because you can use those straight from the freezer. Say you wanted to make a smoothie, maybe mix it with some natural yogurt, whiz it up. You don't have to add ice, or you can add more ice, but they're already frozen, they're nice and cold. We've got dried fruit here. Things to remember with dried fruit is something like apricots, is that a portion of dried fruit is the same as the fruit would be whole. So whole apricots, you'd have 2 or 3 as a portion, and that would be the same as you would get dried. And that's the thing with dried fruit. People tend to maybe overeat on dried fruit. So that's quite important, that if you're having something like that, you'd have the packet, take it out. I've got a plate here, put it on something like a plate, or put that packet away in your cupboard so it's out of sight. And then you've got your snack here, and then you're not tempted to have the whole packet. So don't have the packet on your desk, put it out of sight. But maybe that's more relevant for perhaps less healthy snacks, but it's there. So then you've got the portion. And if I'm going to eat this, I want to eat it mindfully. So I want to notice that I'm eating it. So I'll eat it. I'll focus on the food that I'm having. Here, like I said, I've got a portion of walnuts. This is of California walnuts. It's about 30 grams, about a handful. What I find it quite useful is to again portion it out. you'll see my walnuts are actually they're here in the fridge. Because not many people know, but that's the best place. They should be kept in the fridge, and it keeps them nice and fresh. And we've got a portion there, so I know that that's there. And then again, when I eat those, it's eating them one by one. So you're eating those mindfully, and they're great because they've got fibre and protein. When you think about snacks, try and think not just sweet. Think about savoury, and obviously protein helps to fill you up, and also so does fibre. And also we think with protein foods, you might have heard that they're rich in tryptophan, which is an amino acid which has a role linked to serotonin, which is one of the feel-good hormones. We need to maybe get some more evidence, and people often quote turkey as the thing that has a lot of tryptophan. It can happen. It's found in other foods as well. But yes, thinking about having some protein and fibre in your snacks is really important. Obviously, fruit has those as well. Seeds, but again, with things like seeds, is measure a portion. The portions would be a teaspoonful, so measure that spoon out, maybe portion it up. I've got some crackers here. We know that starchy carbohydrates, what your brain needs to keep going, obviously, is energy, and that can be provided by carbohydrates. Your brain uses about 20% of your energy in your body. And if you choose whole grains, or what you might think complex carbs, slower acting carbs, then they'll keep your blood sugar nice and steady. Again, I would have them with some protein, so I've got some oat cakes here, or some crackers, and you could have it with something like we've got some hummus, some cream cheese, some nut butter. Might be a really good choice. And then I was saying about savoury. Oh, and also if have a look here. Again, like having things ready in the fridge. I've got some chopped up fruit. Well, obviously some blueberries and some not mango. That's melon. So that's ready to go, and you could take that out if you wanted to snack. Again, something like some natural yogurt is going to give you some protein, and you're more likely to have that's all ready to go. So that's straight. You can eat that straight away. Same with I was saying about savoury vegetables. Now, if you look in my salad drawer, like I've got a pepper here. There are some whole peppers. Got some carrots, some celery. But if I'm feeling, I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. Whereas if I come to my fridge and I find this, so I've chopped the peppers up, the carrots up, and the celery, there you can see it in the top. Then again, that's something, it's ready to go. I'll use that. It's going to be that. And again, maybe having a snack. Here we've got some, this is some mushroom soup I made actually on Sunday. And people forget about soup. That can be a great snack, or again, if you a quick and easy meal. Obviously, this is made with just mushrooms. But if you want to get some protein in there, adding something like lentils or beans to your veg soup can be a really good way of having it. So I think it's just a little bit of prep when you do have time, when you're not feeling stressed. So for those times when you can just come to the fridge, grab something, and there you are. Okay, you'll see here we've got a bottle of water and my glass of water. I thought with all this talking I'm going to get thirsty, and I would normally have that on my desk. So having things in line of sight is a really good idea if you want to have them. Having things out of line of sight is really good if you don't want to be tempted by them. And that can be, I know it can be thinking about where you're working. Not everybody has that choice. You might have to work in the kitchen. But if you can work away from food, if you have a problem where you find that you are snacking, if you can try and work away from food, then it's there. I know you still maybe know that you get the siren call from the cupboards, but if you're away from it and the door's closed, we know from the psychological point of view that is a natural barrier. The other thing is where you store your food. So this is one of my cupboards, a pantry cupboard. And you can see as soon as I open this, I've got some baking stuff here, but I've got, very mundane things, tins of tomatoes, tea bags, flour, things like that. I do have some other snacks. You can see on this top shelf I've got some savoury snacks, but they're sort of out of my line of sight, so if I opened the cupboard, that's not what I see. Plus I would physically have to open the cupboard. The other thing as well, you can see they've got tags on, so that it can be a way of sort of not choosing them, like they're not immediately there. Whereas if maybe, say we had a biscuit barrel that was on the side, or over here is where we make our tea and coffee, it's keeping this area clear, so if I want to have a hot drink, then I come and it's just there, but there's no biscuits, there's no cake, there's no other food there, so it's there. So we're talking about hydration. It's really important for your brain to keep hydrated, and for your concentration, and so it's having a range of drink. Obviously water is the best, but if you want tea and coffee, minimise your caffeine, especially if you find it can make you anxious or jittery. I would say have some if you do, but sort of maybe maximum of 3 drinks a day. You can obviously get decaffeinated coffee, decaffeinated tea there. I've got peppermint, I think this is lemon and ginger in this one, decaffeinated green tea there. So have a selection, and then there. You might have noticed words with eagle eyes in my cupboard. I've got my vitamin D because that's something that people ask me about supplements, but well, sunshine hopefully today is going to be good enough, but it reminds me to take my vitamin D every day. Okay, so we've talked about suitable snacks, and when I think about meal times is obviously incorporating these foods as part of your meal times, and like so getting protein and fibre, just beyond, more than snacks, using things like walnuts in salads, or is a substitute for ground meat, all that kind of thing. So there's lots of great recipes on the California Walnuts website if you want some inspiration. Otherwise, it's about having sort of things available, quick and easy. So things like packets of grains can be really useful. So if you think I haven't got time, you can pop that in the microwave. It's ready. You might have time to do it. Or again, we've got lots of tinned beans and pulses at the back. Things like tinned fish can be really helpful. The other thing is, if you're batch cooking, you've got some time at the weekend, is making meals so that you put them in the freezer, write on what it is. Otherwise, you pay fees of bingo, you don't know what you've got. I think that's some red cabbage actually. But again, that's good. Now, if you wanted to have a ready meal, then don't beat yourself up. Try and cook from scratch when you can, most of the time. But if you want to have a ready meal, that's fine. When you choose them, look at the food labels so that you're making a healthy choice. And the critical thing is to add some vegetables and add some salad to those. And so if you have some bagged salad, you have some frozen veg. Again, if you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, that's something really quick and easy that you can do. But there's not going to be enough veg or salad in that meal as it is, and that's the same as if you bought, say, a rice salad or a pasta salad. And again, maybe you could buy something and you're just adding things to it just to make it a bit more exciting. So it's really important to I think sort of you're getting the message about being prepared. I've mentioned things like pulses and whole grains, and they're a really good source of iron, and we know that iron is really important for not being tired. I think everybody knows about if people are anemic, they've got low iron levels, then they can feel very tired. So it's important to make sure you get enough iron in your diet. And iron-containing foods, like I said, obviously things like lean meat, fish, eggs, whole grains, beans, pulses, they're plant sources. Even actually walnuts have got some iron in. If you have vitamin C containing foods at the same time that you have iron containing foods, the vitamin C helps you absorb the iron. So that's a really good idea. So thinking about maybe at breakfast, if you're having maybe some whole grain breakfast cereal, is adding some fruit to that will help you absorb the iron in that. So iron is really important for your brain. We know B vitamins, so things like folic acid, thiamine, that you find in green leafy vegetables, oranges, again whole grains. And the B vitamins help you release energy from your food, also help with things like nerve transmission and various other. So again, incorporating some of those foods can be helpful. I've talked about hydration. There are some others, magnesium, zinc, selenium, but again, if you're having plenty of fruit and veg, some lean protein foods, some starchy carbs, so choosing whole grain. Often people are worried about eating carbohydrates. The important thing is choosing the whole grain variety, the high fibre variety, and also watching your portion size. So if you're having something like, I don't know, you get out your rice, we've got some brown rice here, or noodles, these are whole grain noodles, pasta. It might sound a bit boring to do it, but I would really recommend you weigh out your portion. So a portion of rice is 50 grams, pasta is 75 grams. So, or get a cup or a mug so you know what it looks like, and then when you're portioning it out, because I always think, especially with pasta, you put it in the pan, it looks like a tiny amount, and then pasta doubles in size when you cook it, and actually rice triples in size when you cook it. So what looked this very paltry or small portion to start with, actually it was all the water and expand. And you say, well, I mean, you can cook extra, and that could be a really good way of then having some extra for the next day. But if you do that, portion it, take away the extra that you've cooked before you serve your dinner, because if you've got that large amount sitting there, then you might be tempted to eat the whole amount. So if you're going to save that portion for tomorrow, which is a great idea to do, take it away, cover it up, put it in the fridge or store it safely, and then you'll be able to have a portion for tomorrow. I'm just going to have a sip of water. Okay, so I think that so going through your meal times, so you're thinking about choices, breakfast, quick and easy, obviously something like an egg with some whole grain toast, or some whole grain cereal with yogurt, or some milk, or a non-dairy alternative. If you are choosing a non-dairy alternative, make sure that it is fortified, so that you look through it to make sure that that it will say that it's got added calcium and B12 in it. It's important, because then you're getting all the vitamins and minerals that you get in the milk. And adding some fruit, adding some nuts, walnuts, or adding some seeds, and so that can be great. Then snacks we talked about, so fruit, vegetables, things like crackers, seeds, yogurt, maybe a sandwich or something like that if you wanted something more substantial. Then lunchtime you can have things like salads, maybe make them the day before. Soups can be fantastic. And then in your evening meal, obviously some lean protein, some starchy carbs, and plenty of fruit and vegetables. And one of my absolute go-tos is that you can get things like bags of frozen Mediterranean vegetables. And again, these are great because all the work's been done for you. And I'll make that up into a sauce. And you can use that. Obviously, you can use it as a basis of a soup or a sauce, or anything. It gives you plenty of choice. So I think going back to what I said to start with, if you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed, don't be hard on yourself. You can make it easier for yourself. Do eat, because your brain needs that nourishment. Try and choose some of the foods we've talked about today. And being prepared, you don't have to be obsessive, but being prepared can be just a bit of planning when you do have time, can really just help you. So I think I've done enough talking. So what we're going to do now is answer some of your questions.
Okay, so Wheat Emma asks, are there any lesser known nutrients I need to be aware of?
Okay, that's a good question. Thanks, Emma. So the question is, are there any lesser known nutrients that I need to be aware of? Yeah, I think that's a good point. One of the ones when we're talking about brain health is omega-3 fatty acids. And these are essential fats. We can't make them in our body. Our body's pretty clever and can make most things, but we can't make these fats. And so we have to take them in the food we eat. And you find them in the plant source is walnuts are the only nut that's a really rich source of omega-3 fatty acids. Also you find them in seeds as well, things like linseeds. But also you find it in oily fish, so fish like salmon, mackerel, trout. So it's really important to try and incorporate those foods because they definitely have a role in the developing brain, and we know that they have a role. Also, from the heart health point of view, we know that this essential fat, alpha-linolenic acid, which you find in the walnuts, can help maintain a healthy cholesterol, and that's a risk factor for heart disease, so it can be really important when you look after heart health. So yeah, that's omega-3 fatty acids, but also I think things like zinc, magnesium, selenium, some of those minerals. But as I said, you don't need to worry about specifics. If you're having this healthy balanced diet where you're having plenty of fruit and veg, like I said, some lean protein, things like nuts, seeds and fruit and veg and some whole grains, then you should be getting a balance. Like I said, the only thing that I'd recommend you take more of is vitamin D, because there's not many foods that contain it. So thanks, Emma.
The other question is, are there any healthy sweet snacks? I always end up eating chocolate.
Okay. Well, sometimes chocolate is, what you want to eat. And I would say that one of the things we tend to do is put foods on pedestals, and it's only chocolate. And if you're eating and that's what you want, then that's fine. If you're eating chocolate to make yourself feel better, I think you need to question about that whole thing about is there thinking about the problem. If you eat dark chocolate because it tastes stronger, you need less of it. So it's people say, have a couple of squares of that and that can satisfy you. And actually that can work. That can be hard if you then have a whole bar and if you start eating then, so you would having to think about portioning it up or buying small bars, so that's really fruit is nature's sweets. You might have heard that said before. So having those sweet snacks, things that the tropical fruit, we've got some mango here, grapes tend to be sweeter. Again, what's your portion size? So a portion of grapes would be about 12 to 15. So here there's about 6 grapes there, so it would be a couple of handfuls. The mango, chop it up so that you've got it available. You can have sometimes if you've got a sweet craving, something like, as I said, you can have a yogurt and add some fruit to that. I don't think you can make, if you like baking, then you can make your own things like cereal bars, because then you're in control of what's going in, and there's some great recipes on the website. Yeah, that's on the Walnuts, California Walnuts website. So I think that those are all things that, and the best rule is if it's not in the house, you can't eat it. So if you find you're always snacking on something, then don't buy it, because then if you want it. Well, another rule is only have it maybe when you're out of the house or certain occasions. But like I said, that has to play with then putting certain foods on a pedestal. So I think when you're hungry or you want to eat, think about, am I hungry? How hungry am I? And don't get over hungry. You shouldn't get too hungry, because then maybe you tend to overeat. So think about, is it head hunger or is my tummy growling? So am I hungry? And then why am I eating? Obviously eating because you're hungry, but if you're eating because you're angry or anxious or lonely or tired or stressed, then think about things that you can do that don't involve food, that you can help. And then if it happens, examine what you could do differently next time, and then, like I said, it can feel better. So I sort of went off on a bit of a tangent there about chocolate, but occasionally that can be there. But again, just watching maybe the kind type you have and the frequency, because it is all about frequency, amount and type. Okay, well, I think that's it for questions. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I've really enjoyed doing this. I thank my daughter, who's been my cameraman. Yes, like I said, enjoy your food and take care. Okay, well we can see it says when you tap the end button at top right corner of this, it says tap the end button, but there's no end button. All we can see is a cross. Okay, Emma says brush this. Share. And then you share it. Oh, we worry about recording if it's still. I'll call you back.